Hello, my amazing artists. Today we are in my house. I am working on a new project that I want to share with you. This is a little tricky. We are going to be starting with drawing, then coloring, that could be painting or just using crayons or markers. We're going to do some cutting and gluing. Oh boy, lots of stuff to do today. So, the elements of art that we're going to use today are lines, oh no, color, and last but not least, form. And if you remember from our elements of art, song and dance, form is when you make something three-dimensional. That could actually be three-dimensional like a sculpture, but today we are using form on a 2D surface, like a flat thing. Okay, here we go. So, I want to talk about cylinders. So this jar is a cylinder. It's round on the sides, like a circle, but it's flat on the bottom and the top. It doesn't really have any corners. This jar kind of has these soft corners, but it's mostly round, so it's a cylinder. It has a circular top and a circular bottom. So to draw a glass cylinder is pretty tricky. The top, when you hold it, here, let me move my artwork. When I rest it on the table here, you don't see the top of the jar. You don't really see the bottom of the jar. But if I tilt it, you can see the top of the jar. Now, this top of the jar, we know, if we're looking straight from like a bird's eye view, it's a circle. But when I tilt it, it becomes an oval. And that's what we are going to use to draw, can you see my oval top here, to show that it's a three-dimensional object. If we drew it like this, it would still be a curved line, but we want to get more of that three dimension, and we're going to make that oval at the top. We're also going to make the curved line on the bottom, and they're going to go the same way. So let me show you how to draw that. Grab your pencils and let's get started. So looking at my finished drawing, at the top here I have a very skinny oval, and at the bottom I have a curved line as well. I'm going to flip through my handy dandy sketch pad here. I've got some other paintings that I'm working on, some drawings of bugs that we'll use later. Alright, I've got a blank page here. So, I want to make a pretty big jar that fills up most of my paper. You can make it however big you would like. I'm going to put my jar next to me so I can see what I'm drawing. So at the top I'm going to draw my skinny oval. I would suggest that you draw really lightly until you get it right. I'm going to press a little harder so you can see in the video what I'm doing. So I've got my skinny oval. I'm going to bring these two lines, this side and on this side, down to make the lid. And then I'm going to copycat this line at the bottom here. Very nice. So we want this curved line to pretty much match this curved line as best as we can. Then we have the shoulder of the cylinder here. So I'm going to make my little neck and then shoulder. Jars like this have a neck and a shoulder because the neck needs to be skinny so you can screw on that top, but then it widens out so you can fit more volume of stuff in your jar. So I've got my shoulders. Think about how your shoulders come out from your neck. They're kind of soft curves. And then I'm going to draw my straight lines down. If you'd like to use a ruler, you can totally grab a ruler and do this part with a ruler. And then at the bottom here, I have a curve. and this curve is going to follow this curve again because we want to show that it's round. All right, so pretty good. If I want to, I can make a really soft other side of this oval to show that if you're looking through the glass, you can see that this is an oval on the bottom, just like this would be an oval on the bottom, right? I don't have to have that though, and since my jar is going to be filled with something, I'm just going to erase that. Alright, that is pretty much how you draw your jar. Now I'm going to add some color, baby, color. You can add color to your jar a bunch of ways. The ways I like to add color are with paint, and I have this handy dandy little watercolor kit that I love to use. If you don't have paints at your house, that's okay. You can grab some markers, and these are really cool markers. I'm excited to try them. And a container of water and a paintbrush, and you can do this cool trick I like. So, and I'll tell you right now, this will not work with a Sharpie, and I have not found it working very well with highlighters, just with washable markers. This color is called Hot Magenta. So there's a clue right there. It's definitely a hot color. I'm going to color on my jar, and my paper has a texture on it, if you can tell. It's watercolor paper. It's pretty thick, so I know it will hold up well when I'm adding my color and my water. It won't dissolve, right? The paper won't disintegrate because of the water. So when I'm coloring, I'm just putting in blocks of color, patches of color, and you can overlap too. That works pretty good. Not doing any special designs. Ooh, that is bright. Alright, that's pretty good for now. I don't want to get too close to the edge. So now I'm going to add some water on my paint, or on my marker, and it changes the consistency of my marker to be more fluid. So it smooths out all those lines and it turns it into a sort of paint. And you might need quite a bit of water, and just keep rubbing that water on your marker spot. Some colors work better than others. There you go. You can see how that pink is now moving away from just where I colored to wherever I spread it with my paintbrush. Okay, I'm going to fill in my jar with my color, and then I will come back once I am happy with how it looks. Hey guys, so a little tip for you. I was noticing that the yellow and the bright pink weren't working very well, and I think it's because my water was dirty and because the color was just so light that when I added the water, it diluted it so much that I couldn't really see it anymore. So I went back in with some of that dark purple and red that I liked, and it looks a lot better. So now I'm just coloring in my cap. I want it to look a little bit realistic at the top. I want the cap to look like an actual silver cap to my jar. So I'm just coloring this in with my gray crayon, but you could use whatever you want. And then I'm going to trace over my lines in Sharpie. I really liked how that looked last time, and it gave it a defined edge. And a lot of times we like to trace over our artwork in Sharpie in class. So let's do that here too. So I've got my Sharpie. I'm going to just be pretty careful to follow that pencil line that I made. So I made that skinny oval. I added those two lines. And then I brought the same curve around and connected those lines at the bottom. The little neck, the shoulder, Then the line that comes all the way down. There we go. Go to the other side. I have trouble making both sides of the jar look the same. Ooh, that is tricky. So if you need to like fold your paper in half and trace it or whatever you want to do, that's cool with me. Okay, doke. Alright. That looks pretty good to me. I think I'm ready to start adding the things on the inside. So I drew some little bugs. I did some sea creatures last time, but this time I wanted to do bugs. I did a dragonfly sort of looking thing, a little bee guy, and I think this is going to be a ladybug. So I'm going to add some color with my markers and my crayons to these guys, and then we will continue on. I think this side has all the pencil marks on it, so I'm going to flip it over so that I'm gluing on that side, and this part gets the color. I don't have a messy mat, and I think that's something I should get, you guys. What could I use as a messy mat, do you think? What do you think I could use? Maybe an old newspaper. Maybe... what else could I use? An old magazine. A piece of paper that I don't want. I definitely need one, because I want to get all these edges on my bugs. Alright. I will finish coloring my bugs and I will come right back. Okay guys, I finished coloring all my bugs. I've got a ladybug. There's a lot of ladybugs around. Have you seen a lot? Man, I found a lot of ladybugs. A little bee and a dragonfly. Now, I wanted to point out that in my last jar, I had an octopus in my jar. There's no way you can fit an octopus in a jar. Well, maybe if the jar was big enough, but what I'm saying is we are not going for realism. At least I'm not going for anything super realistic. I'm just trying to be creative and have a little fun. Now, you want to make sure that your jar isn't too wet before you start gluing your bugs inside, or whatever animal or thing you want to put inside your jar, because the glue doesn't like to stick to the wet paper. Alright, hold for a couple minutes, or a couple seconds. Da-da-da, not too bad. You might have to add a little more glue to like the little antennas and stuff. Go back and stick those down again. Here's my little, oh, you know what? I'm going to put my dragonfly in first. Try to decide where. There we go. Alright, so my bee will go... Ooh, this is tricky. I have to set up my composition before I glue things down, because I didn't realize how big that dragonfly was. Composition, right, is where you put stuff and how you organize your artwork. So the composition is important in this picture, because if, oh, look at that! Oh, some of my marker is coming off on my jar. That's kind of cool. If I didn't arrange stuff properly, it wouldn't fit in the jar. Alright, pretty cool. Okay, guys, so I think we've about finished our 2 jars here. I've got one with hot colors and bugs, and I've got my other one with sea creatures. Have fun creating your amazing jars using form, line, and color, baby, color.